Hello, everyone. My name is Angela Smith. I'm a member of Louisville SHRM's DEI committee, and I'm so excited to begin the conversation on diversity, equity, and inclusion with Olivia Benford. She is a Louisville native and refers to herself as a holistic artivist. Olivia, thank you for joining me in this conversation, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me participate and facilitate these types of conversations. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And as for me, I'm an incoming freshman at the University of Louisville. I'll be attending this fall, pursuing my major in public policy analysis and psychology, minoring in sociology and Pan African studies. I've always knew that I loved the arts. It was my way of expression and also dealing with traumatic childhood. It became an outlet for me. It was how I coped, it was how I healed. And along the process, I didn't realize this at first, but it was also helping heal others. And so I allowed my writing and my poetry and my voice alone to become my way of activism. So that's where I combine the two terms, being an artivist.
That's amazing. How would you describe your understanding of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
At its core, diversity, equity, and inclusion is what we think would be the dream of the planet. How we communicate, how we structure, how we contextualize our world. We also must be receptive and understanding of the uniqueness of humanity.
Absolutely. What are some areas of challenge for students, would you say?
Speaking from experience as a Black bisexual woman, those three titles alone can hold so much power, but also other people can view it as a prejudiced way. But for me, it's quite liberating. And everyone has this desire to be heard, to be recognized, to be valued. And when you don't offer that in the classroom, it can cause quite a lot of challenges. And when we choose not to address the root for someone's bigotry, it leads to creating scapegoats and stereotypes and injustice across many identities.
Absolutely. Can you explain the importance of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yes, of course. To quote my favorite author, James Baldwin, he says that we can agree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. If your disagreement is rooted in my right to learn about my proper history, being included in conversations that are about me in my own identity, there is a disconnect of having diversity and equity and inclusion.
Well said. What are your thoughts on how to handle microaggressions or biases inside and outside of the classrooms?
We address them firsthand. But how do we go about doing so unless we are effectively edifying what microaggressions are? How are they being perpetrated inside and outside of the classroom? How do we go about tackling them together? It's called intersectionality. Oftentimes, students don't know that they are being racially profiled or experiencing someone spewing microaggressions. So, we must have these conversations around what is influencing this hydra headed bigotry and what are we going to do to dismantle the microaggressions and implicit bias. And it is not or never will be the duty of the oppressed to educate the oppressor.
Right. What have you done in the past to overcome such experiences?
The end of my high school year, I joined a activist team called Aspen. And so the Aspen Challenge is amongst many high schools in Louisville, and they are presented with challenges of how they can be active people in their community and create more change. And so our goal of our 2020 Aspen year was to create cultural well-being in the places that we work and learn. So, with that being said, we created a children's book that was centered around diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hmm, that's good. What trend would you like to see become the new normal that helps bring awareness of inclusion and respect for diversity?
I would like to see less quote unquote allies. I would like to see more accomplices. Allies is being an ally is a spectator sport,
Mhm.
but accomplices join the fight in dismantling the systems that they benefit from. You cannot hold these conversations about other identities and not include those identities. We spend $33 million to place police in our schools where the presence of police increases the likelihood of predominantly students of color being arrested and getting in contact with the law enforcement. And that is infiltrating, or that is perpetrating the school to prison pipeline. And so I'd like for there to be more access to social workers, counselors, and restorative justice coordinators in our schools and community rather than influencing that pipeline.
Yes. Everyone has a role in DEI. Encouraging DEI is about being hands on, and keeping the conversation going is a goal. So, what advice would you give students simply just to practice or implement DEI inside and outside of the classroom?
I would advise them to be more receptive to learning, to understanding and accepting of other people. Humanity exists of unique individuals. However, just because we're alongside those who may not always look like us doesn't mean that they are a threat or that you are in danger or that you are entitled to cause harm by inflicting the system upon them. My advice to Black students and Black people in general is to learn yourself, advocate for your proper history being taught in your schools, and also advocate for yourself. So we're not passing down false information to the next generation that is rooted in white supremacy.
Well said. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me. It's been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I thank you most of all just for pouring into the community and just keeping the conversation going. I thank you. I look forward to seeing you more in the future, and take care.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Bye.